lot of times Jesus says something like that, don't tell anyone. It particularly is prevalent in Mark's gospel. This is Matthew's account, right? But don't tell anyone. You think, well, isn't the whole idea to get the message out? You know, if we were promoting our parish, don't tell anyone what we do here. Don't tell them, you know. No, that's not how it works. So why does he do that? Well, there's a lot of theory and reason, and I think particularly for this one, it has to do with how humans see glory. This is a glorious event. And if you think of people of Jesus' time, what they were expecting of a Messiah and how they saw the glory of what that person was going to do, it was going to be a vanquishing of evil. And of course, in the end, that's not what ends up happening, right? The defining characteristic of the Messiah isn't this like conquering over evil in the traditional sense of like some big battle where you think of like, you know, Michael the archangel standing over Lucifer as a fallen angel. It isn't that. On the contrary, it's the cross. And so I think one of the reasons Jesus said, don't talk about what just happened here until I've been raised from the dead, was to say, because you people have it all wrong about glory, I need you to see the whole thing. And you're going to have to be able to see it through the veil of the whole Paschal mystery, right? You know, suffering, death, and resurrection of Jesus. You can't look at it any other way. I was saying to Father Geoff of the sacristy, as I've been pondering this in preparation for this week, I can't help but go back to Jesus Christ Superstar and the song when Simon Zealot sings. Right, they're so excited. It's really my favorite song in the show. You'll get the power and the glory forever and ever and ever. They're so excited. And we're just going to conquer it all. And Jesus just pours water on the whole thing, doesn't he? Neither you, none of you not understand what power is. Understand it all, he says to them. You just don't understand what this is. It's something very different from what you think. And so when this happens, right, they get the cool thing. They see Moses and Elijah, as I always say, this is like the Hall of Fame of Judaism. You have to be sitting there like, whoa. And so you can kind of understand Peter. He wants it easy. Oh, we're on a mountain. This is so cool. If you'd like, I could build some tents and we could just live here. We'll run the Jesus amusement park or something. I don't know what he's got in his head. But as he's pitching this idea of just easiness, that's when the cloud comes, right? And clouds are tricky. You ever been in a small plane and you go through a cloud? I mean small enough. When I worked for the congresswoman, occasionally you get on a plane where the pilot would turn around and go, you can't both sit on that side. Really? Yeah, no. One of you's got to be. Have you ever been in a plane that small and you go into a cloud? It's disconcerting, to put it mildly. And then if you catch a little air pocket and you drop like 100 feet, there's just that, right? What happens to the disciples here? In Greek, the word is ekphobos. Phobos, where we get our word phobia from, so it's fear, but ek means holy. W-H-O-L-L-Y. Completely filled with fear. They're face down. This absolutely freaked them out. Seeing the glory of God did not inspire them or bring them courage or make them more faithful. It made them mess themselves, right? They're face down in fear. And in that moment, brothers and sisters, in that moment, Jesus does what Jesus always do. He comes to them, and that verb, by the way, is the same verb when he's resurrected and he comes to them. And then it says he touches them. And in Matthew, that always denotes healing. So in this whole wild experience, that they see this amazing, this conversation, and of course, Peter immediately goes to the wrong place. He doesn't understand it at all. And then the cloud comes and the voice speaks and they are filled with fear. And he comes to them and he touches them and they raise up and they go down that mountain to continue a very difficult journey. And so then what is it for us? I think this Sunday for us in this Lenten journey is encouragement. It is an opportunity to find courage. It is an opportunity to think about the ways in which we experience the power and the glory of God. But then to realize more than that we would, if we were going to promote, I would hope that what we would promote as a community isn't the gloriousness of being God's people, but to really be doing what he did, which is to go to people, to touch people, those who are filled with fear and anxiety and worry and disconnection, and to touch them, to bring them into community, to have communion with them. Because anything less is to make it about how we see it as humans. And my goodness, if the vision of God can't be bigger than ours, I'm not sure it's worth laying our lives down for. Spoiler alert, it is not worth laying our lives down for. The human understanding of power and glory is so small. It's why they mocked him as he was doing it, saving us. You, right there they are. Save yourself, you saved others. Continue how we see power and glory. And he says, no. I'm going to show you what real power and real glory is about. And it is always rooted in reintegrating people into the community, going out and touching, not sitting and worshiping alone, right? If all you and I ever did as Christians was come here once a week, and then we just went home and went back about our lives, what on earth is that? It's just some sort of practical, I don't even know what that is. I really don't. It's on some level, it's just fear. Well, we come here because if we don't, eternal damnation awaits us or something. I don't know. I really don't know what that would be. But what brings us here today, I hope, is the reality of coming together and touching one another, not just physically, but emotionally and sharing in our journey and sharing in our anxiety and our worry and our pain and our joys, all of it, so that we're strengthened as a community to go out to those who are so racked with pain or grief or fear that they can't even see clearly. They're in their own cloud. And in that cloud, Jesus is sending us. In that cloud, Jesus is asking us to go and say, rise, rise. Do not be afraid. That's what we're called to. And as I keep telling us, we will never do that alone, and we will never do that without his presence within us. And so that's what brings us here, to hear his word. And again, not like we hear the words of the Constitution or hear the words of St. Augustine in the Confessions, but to hear Jesus talking to us and say, rise, do not be afraid. Life is not easy. We're going to have to go down from this awesome mountaintop experience, and we're going to return to all those people who hate us and are working diligently to trip us up. And we will meet them with love, and we will meet them with compassion, and we will offer them forgiveness. They may not take it, but we will always offer that, because there from the cross, fully exposed, fully vulnerable, is our God, the powerful and glorious and resurrected Jesus Christ is teaching us and telling us how it is to be. There are glorious and powerful moments in our experience of Jesus. There are. And in this community, which is an experience of Jesus. And there are difficult and painful things as well. But we journey that together. And so let us not be like Peter in this story, who just said, oh man, let's just live here. Let us have the courage, as God says, this is my son. Listen to him. I think it was Walter Burgart that had said once, he said, speak, Lord, your servant is listening. That's one way to approach it. The other is, speak, Lord, and your servant will consider it. Think about it. See how it fits into my plans for this week. Nope. There's Jesus saying, that's not good enough. I need you to follow me. And so we take a moment to pause in humility and think about the ways in which we're filled with fear, we're racked with anxiety, we're worried about many things. And just like the apostles, we're kind of face down. And feel it. Feel Jesus come to you, touch you, to heal you, to restore you, to pull you up and say, rise. Don't be afraid. We don't want to be afraid as individuals or as a community. Because when we leave here today, it will be different than when we walked in. Because renewed in our very flesh and blood will be his presence within us. May God be praised.